The night was cold and silent, with only the faint hum of wind rattling the old shutters of Faith's quaint countryside home. Faith, a bright and independent woman in her late 20s, had spent the evening binge-watching her favorite reality TV show, 90 Day Fiancé. The drama-filled relationships and over-the-top antics of the cast always offered a guilty pleasure she couldn't resist. Faith had started noticing odd things around her house in the last few weeks. It began with small inconveniences: missing socks, lights she swore she had turned off flickering back on, and faint noises in the dead of night. She blamed it on exhaustion or her overly imaginative mind. But something in her gut told her that wasn't it. Loren had been her neighbor for the past year. At first glance, he seemed harmless, a quiet man in his mid-30s who mostly kept to himself. But Faith often caught him staring at her from his porch, his dark eyes unblinking, his face devoid of expression. She chalked it up to loneliness or social awkwardness, but as time went on, his gaze lingered longer, and his presence became unnervingly frequent. Faith had tried to brush it off until the night she found her kitchen window slightly ajar, a window she always kept locked. That night, as Faith settled into bed, she felt uneasy. She double-checked all the locks and even propped a chair under the front door handle. Her small, one-bedroom house felt like a fortress, but her instincts screamed that it wasn't enough. She drifted into an uneasy sleep, the faint light of her bedside lamp casting long shadows on the walls. A noise woke her, a soft creak, like the groan of old wood under weight. Faith froze, her heart hammering in her chest. She held her breath, straining to hear. There it was again. Her eyes darted to her bedroom door. It was slightly ajar, though she was sure she had closed it before going to bed. The silence that followed was deafening. Faith slid out of bed, clutching her phone like a lifeline. She debated calling the police but hesitated, not wanting to seem paranoid. Instead, she crept to the door and peered out into the hallway. A figure stood at the foot of her bed, illuminated by the faint glow of her lamp. Loren! Faith screamed, stumbling backward and nearly dropping her phone. Loren didn't move. He just stood there, staring at her, his face eerily calm. "Loren, what the hell are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice shaking. He tilted his head slightly, his eyes drifting downward. Faith followed his gaze and realized with horror that he was staring at her bare feet. "You have such perfect toes," he murmured, his voice low and almost reverent. "Get out!" she screamed, grabbing the nearest object, a glass of water on her nightstand, and hurling it at him. It shattered against his shoulder, but he didn't flinch.